Criminal defense attorney Paul Callan. Welcome, Paul.
Good morning.
Let's start with Alberto Alvarez, one of Jackson's, security personnel. He took the stand and he talked about going into Michael Jackson's bedroom. Michael Jackson was clearly in distress, yet Dr. Conrad Murray said, oh, put these vials in this paper bag, like hide these drugs in another paper bag. He didn't say to Alvarez, oh, call 911. Let's listen to a bit of Alvarez's testimony and then we'll talk about it.
I was standing at the foot of the bed. He reached over and grabbed a handful of vials, and then he reached out to me and said, here, put these in a bag.
So, of course, the prosecution is saying Dr. Murray was much more interested in a cover-up than in actually saving Michael Jackson's life.
Yes, and you know, Alvarez made a very compelling witness. As you can see, he's strong and confident in his testimony. And here you have Michael Jackson, presumably dying, maybe already dead, on the bed. You would think a 911 call, immediate medical action would be called for. Instead, Alvarez builds this scene of Murray hiding vials, moving things around the room, and eventually, by the end of the day, we have a 25-minute lapse before 911 is called with a cardiologist, Dr. Murray, in the room. Why would that be?
But sadly, even Alvarez, that he didn't call 911 immediately. And I know on cross-examination, defense attorneys said, look, you've changed your story several times, so I mean, the jury could look at Alvarez and say, well, why didn't you call 911 right away? You saw that Michael Jackson appeared to be in trouble.
Well, I think prosecutors will say Dr. Conrad Murray is in the room. He's a cardiologist. You couldn't expect a security guard to make the decision that 911 was needed. He would rely on the doctor and trust the doctor. In fact, only in retrospect does he now realize that that was misplaced trust.
But the doctor didn't know how to perform CPR, and didn't Alvarez know that?
No, he didn't know that. And you know, Carol, I represent doctors and hospitals in medical malpractice cases. I happened to be sitting with some medical professionals yesterday when some of the testimony was coming down. I mean, people were in a state of shock. I'm talking about trained medical people who said, well, as one doctor said to me, there's no way he can ever take the witness stand in this case, Dr. Murray. Oh. How can he explain not knowing how to do CPR, not calling 911? It was a very good day for the prosecution in showing his level of incompetence at the scene.
Oh, the other sad fact to come out of this trial is that Dr. Conrad Murray sent people down into the kitchen to talk to the chef, right?
Yes, he did.
And those people said, oh, Mr. Jackson's in trouble. We need Prince, his son, to come upstairs. But the chef either didn't realize what was happening. She just went back to preparing lunch for the day. I mean, it seemed that they all lived in a bubble and that stuff like this just happened every day in Michael Jackson's home.
Well, I guess they did. And I mean, it really is odd that the doctor is reaching out to the chef and that she's involved in the whole process, but she was. And yes, these celebrities do live in a bubble. And in the end, I think prosecutors are painting a picture here of a celebrity who buys the services of a doctor, Dr. Conrad Murray, not really for medical attention, but to get drugs administered to him because the rich and celebrities pretty much get what they want. So that's the picture that they're going to create. He's in a bubble. He hires this doctor, but why isn't the doctor protecting him rather than hurting him? That's the picture the prosecution is
just
creating.
The fact that Michael Jackson was in bed, you know, sleeping, and he had an oxygen tank beside him, and it was hooked up to him, and he was also hooked up to a catheter. I mean, nobody sleeps that way every night.
Well, you know, what struck me when the security guard comes in and he's describing this scene as you've just described it, I mean, on the one hand, Jackson was supposed to be vibrant and ready to go out on a 50-city tour. The security guard said he looked like a patient in a hospice. Oxygen hooked up to him, an IV bag in place, vials of medication, which Dr. Murray tells him to hide instead of calling 911. It is such a compelling, bizarre scene at the end of Michael Jackson's life. And we've seen all of this in the first 3 days of the trial. I've rarely seen a case that begins with such drama and excitement, almost like a Hollywood production or a Hollywood movie.
I know, you wonder where will it go from here.
Well, I don't know. I think it's got to get more boring because, boy, from day to day here, every day, it's just another piece of fascinating testimony.
Paul Callan, thanks for coming in. We appreciate it. Christine?
All right, minding your business this morning.